The flippers of knowledge are so excited today!
Here are 50 amazing facts to blow your mind. Britain is responsible for creating the lie that carrots improve eyesight to distract the Nazis of a new technology that they made for night raids. Frank Hayes, an American jockey, suffered a fatal heart attack in 1923 and died mid-race. His body remained on the horse and crossed the finish line in first place. He had never won a race before in his life. Studies from the University of Chicago concluded that lonely people spend more time in their beds regardless of whether they're tired or not. Chronic loneliness can cause insomnia, as well as the need to get in bed without feeling tired. Rick Astley became an internet phenomenon in 2007 with his video Never Gonna Give You Up, when it became part of an internet prank known as Rickrolling. But sadly, he forgot to claim ownership of his work and earned only $12 in royalties off of his nearly 150 million YouTube views.
Never gonna give you up unless we're talking about money.
In the Vietnamese version of Cinderella, Tam Cam, at the end, Cinderella dismembers her stepsister, puts the body into a jar of food, and sends it to her stepmother to eat, who enjoys it until she finds a skull at the bottom of the jar and then dies out of shock.
Vietnam, why?
A gut feeling is actually a chemical signal that your stomach creates to warn your brain of danger. Starting in 1979, the residents of Naco, Arizona and Naco, Mexico began an annual tradition of having a volleyball match over the fence of the border that divides them. A stroke-suffering cat owner from Ohio named Gary Rohisen attempted to teach his cat Tommy how to dial 911. Unsure of whether the training stuck, the owner later fell over from a stroke in 2006, and the police actually received a silent phone call. When the emergency help arrived, they found the man incapacitated and Tommy by the phone. Jets leave a white trail across the sky for the same reason that you can see your breath in the winter. It's carbon dioxide and water creating visible moisture. If you're feeling blue, drawing a picture of your favorite comfort food can actually cheer you up. In 2013, a study by researchers at St. Bonaventure University in New York showed that people who drew pictures of pizza and cupcakes had up to a 28% increase in their moods. 85-year-old Frank Selleck is known as the world's luckiest man. He survived a train crash that killed 17, he was blown out of a plane which killed 19, and survived a bus accident when he was 4. He's also been in 2 car explosions and has been hit by a bus, as well as had a close call with a truck, and then went on to win the lottery in 2003. A study conducted by the real estate website Movado calculated population density, unemployment rates, hours worked, and other factors, and determined that Florida is currently America's most stressed out state. The 6th tallest pyramid in the world is a Bass Pro Shops megastore located in Memphis, Tennessee. White supremacist and racist Craig Cobb said that he would take a genetic test and received the results on live television. He was found to be 14% sub-Saharan African. A man named Laszlo Polgar developed a method to raise child prodigies. He wrote a book on it, married a language teacher, and they raised the world's best and second best chess players. In 2014, a fan was waving a flare at a Polish soccer game when a security guard used pepper spray on him, not knowing that the substances were combustible, causing him to burst into flames. German canoeist Oscar Speck kayaked from Germany to Australia between 1932 and 1939, only to arrive to be declared as a prisoner of war due to the outbreak of World War II. Scientists at the University of South Denmark have created Aquaman crystals that can actually absorb a room full of oxygen and store it for later use. This discovery might actually be the key to underwater breathing. A handful of crystals could pull oxygen from the water and provide divers with air. Killer whales that live in captivity with dolphins can learn their complicated language, and they eventually actually begin to use it. Harvard is officially free for those with less than $65,000 in annual family income, but of course you still need to get the marks to get in. If a catastrophe or hacking group caused the internet to crash, there are 7 people in the world who have key cards that can reboot the system when 5 of the keys are used together. They literally hold the keys to the worldwide internet's security. In 1140, when King Conrad III of Germany captured a castle, the women of the castle were granted granted free departure and allowed to take what they could carry on their backs. Thinking quickly, the women often carried the men on their backs. The king kept his word and let the men leave that way. Actress Carey Mulligan and singer Marcus Mumford of Mumford & Sons were childhood pen pals who lost contact. Each individually found fame and were reintroduced to each other as adults and fell in love. They are now married. Results from an online survey revealed that 11% of Americans think that HTML is a type of STD. In 1859, English settler Thomas Austin released 24 rabbits onto his property in Australia, stating the introduction of a few rabbits could do little harm and might provide a touch of home in addition to a spot of hunting. By the 1920s, the rabbit population had reached 10 billion. In the 13th century, in order to discover which language humans would speak naturally, Frederick II, Emperor of Germany, placed 50 newborns in the care of nurses who would only feed and bathe the babies but not speak or hold them. The emperor never got his answer because all of the infants died. All US astronauts are required to learn Russian as part of their extensive training. This is because they have to be able to run the International Space Station using Russian language training manuals if necessary. A service dog named Opal not only leads her blind owner around, she's also become a guide dog to the family's previous guide dog, Edward. The previous dog had taken care of the owner for 6 years until he had his eyes removed after developing cataracts. One of the richest men of all time, J. Paul Getty, an oil and gas tycoon, had a payphone installed in his house after visitors racked up his phone bill. Wow, that's cheap. The Bohemian Grove is a 137-year-old secret exclusive camp only open to the rich and powerful men of the world. Richard Nixon was once a member but cheerfully referred to it as the most faggy goddamn thing you'll ever imagine. That was obviously before political correctness. When howling together, no two wolves will howl on the same note. Instead, they actually harmonize to create the illusion that there are more of them than there actually are. Studies show that children will eat as much sugar as you give them because they're biologically wired to crave high-calorie foods during rapid growth. Kids won't start thinking of food as too sweet until they're about 16, when their bones stop growing. For months after returning from trips to space, many astronauts report letting go of objects in mid-air, still fully expecting them to float. In 2012, more than 30% of all deaths in Russia were attributed to alcohol. Herders in Finland spray reindeer's antlers with a reflective paint so that they won't cause as many traffic accidents. In 2011, after 4 years of planning in 2 months, working every night from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., a team of hackers at MIT actually turned their Earth and Planetary Science Department building into a giant multicolored playable Tetris game. During the Vietnam War, American troops would eat small amounts of C4 plastic explosive in order to get high. That's some good explosive, bro. Virtually all of the eyewear industry is controlled by one Italian company, Luxottica S.p.A., which owns brands such as Ray-Ban, Parasol, and Oakley. They also make glasses for Chanel, Prada, Armani, Burberry, Versace, Dolce & Gabbana, and a lot more. Oh, and they also own retail brands like LensCrafters and Sears Optical. Talk about a monopoly. The very first message sent between two computers over the internet was back in 1969, and it was LO. It was supposed to be login, but the computer crashed after the first 2 letters. Skeleton flowers have such delicate petals that they become transparent when it rains. Having bridesmaids in a wedding wasn't originally for moral support. They were actually intended to confuse evil spirits or those who wished harm on the bride. In 539 BC, Persian King Cyrus the Great issued the first ever decree on human rights. He freed the slaves, declared that all people had the right to choose their own religion, and established racial equality. Crack dealing is one of the most dangerous jobs in America, and the salary on average is only about $3.30 an hour. Don't sling crack. Hitler actually had a pet alligator named Saturn, now aged 85, that Russians were gifted by the British government. At the time of this recording, Saturn is actually still alive and well and can be seen at the Moscow Zoo. Only one person has ever been killed by armed police in Iceland since it became an independent republic in 1944. It is estimated that the equivalent of the world's population travel in Otis elevators and escalators and move on their walkways every 3 days. Anything that a duckling meets within the first 10 minutes after it's born will consider its parent forever. On the St. Lawrence River between Canada and the US, there's an island called Just Enough Room where there's literally just enough room for a tree and a house. Early on in Beyonce's career, she was managed by her father, Matthew Knowles. He would make his daughter and the other members of Destiny's Child run a mile while singing so that they could perform on stage without getting exhausted. In 1969, Bill Cosby won a Man of the Year award and jokingly suggested renaming the award to the Nice Guy As Far As We Know award. Ugh, now that's foreshadowing. I want to give a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. They help you create your own professionally designed website easily, regardless of whether you're an amateur or a pro. There's no coding required. They have intuitive and easy to use tools, and you get a free domain if you sign up for a year. Plus, if you start your free trial right now at squarespace.com/Santoro and use the offer code Santoro, you get 10% off your first purchase. So go to squarespace.com/Santoro right now and start your free trial, and be sure to use the offer code Santoro for 10% off. If you have ever wanted to create a website, these are the guys for you. And that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it and you got something out of it, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, and I will see you next time. Knowledge Whale out. Slap, slap. Oh, oh.